Live?
We are live.
Let's go.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you, man? That was a
Great.
sick workout earlier.
Amazing, man.
Yes,
Just
sir.
vibrations are so high. We chopped it up, and we had an amazing back workout. What got you actually into fitness, like health and training?
So I always played sports, football, basketball. In high school, it was mostly football. I played some volleyball. So for me, I've always been into fitness for a long time now. Like I've been working out. I remember being 14 in high school, smallest guy, smallest arms. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to let this be the be all end all type of thing. So I've been lifting since I was 14.
Sick.
So for a long time, at the beginning, you're basically just like starting to get to know the gym, get to know what workouts work for you type of thing. But I started to take it really serious. It was like around February 2022. So even throughout college, I worked out. And then I had a period of time around COVID where I took a little break and I was focused on like other things, investing, just like learning and educating myself. And then 2022 February is when I decided, okay, I want to, completely change my physique and I want to take this like really serious.
That's amazing, man. You've helped me a lot with my investing journey and learning more about the markets, future trends and things that are happening right now. But before we get into all that, I want the people to get to know you a bit more.
Sure.
So like, what's your backdrop? Tell us a little bit about your origin story and how you got here today.
Okay. So I took electrical engineering in college. Surprisingly, I actually really liked the course, but there's a lot of things that I learned throughout college that kind of sent me to this like investing and trading route, specifically like the technical analysis aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So in college, like I did a lot of like power systems, understanding electronics, small little things like that. So I kind of took a liking to the charts, and I would go home, finish my schoolwork, and then I would watch different YouTubers and like how they traded using technical analysis. And I was just drawn towards that naturally. It made sense to me, right? It was really logical. I could look at a chart, see a pattern, and then from there kind of try to understand that YouTubers kind of psychology behind why they're taking the trade and what types of risk management skills that they're using. So before I even started investing and trading in the markets, I already knew technical analysis. I knew how to read candlestick charts. I understood how stocks move in cycles. So once I got my like full-time job in 2019, I worked for a solar farm company. Well, I worked for a company that was contracted to monitor a solar farm. And one of the guys there, shout out Chris Marr, he's a beauty. He was trading, and I would pick his brain on, hey, what made you take that trade? What types of trading are you doing? Like, are you day trading, swing trading? Are you positional trading? That type of thing. And we would chop it up. So it was exciting for me because I get to go to work. I get to learn like this in the electrical field. I'm getting paid for it, but also the guys I'm working with also like they invest on the side too. So Chris would, like I would ask him for a bunch of stuff. He would give me books and I would read them and try to understand them. But he led me to my first like real mentor in the markets. This guy on YouTube, Fit Traders. So his name's Rick DaCosta. So again, I had all this foundation of technical analysis. Like I was already up to date on that stuff. So I didn't have to like relearn all that. So when he put me onto this Fit Traders YouTube channel, I essentially watched all this guy's stuff. And what I took from him the most was how to utilize technical analysis, but also add in like the psychology behind it, the emotions behind it. And how to use it to your advantage, because there's so many different ways to extract money from the markets, right? So I watched everything this guy posted, and I asked him questions. I bought one of his courses, and I really just tried to understand like this other layer to trading and investing. Because a lot of the time, like from an outside look, it could seem like, oh, this guy got lucky, right? Like, oh yeah, he found this one stock, it ended up making money. He got lucky type of thing, right? And from the outside, it could look like that. But when you really dissect like what's going on behind the mind of a trader, like you realize that a lot of it is, you can definitely repeat it, right? So I watched all of his stuff. And then from there, I tried practicing myself. So I initially started I was really into day trading because at the time I was able to go to work, get my job done at work. And then for the rest of my shift, because I'd work 10-hour shifts, I was able to study the markets. I was able to put on trades more often, having access to my phone, right? So
yeah, while at work, right?
While at work.
Wow.
So at the time, day trading kind of set me up to understand how am I going to manage my emotions when I'm on a trade. And I think that starting at that point is when it started to click for me. Like, okay, this isn't just, okay, I find a stock, I find a pattern, I put in a trade. It's more about like finding this pattern that suits your personality, understanding what will happen if things go wrong, like if things go right, and how that's going to affect you mentally. So you can easily catch mistakes and you could learn from them fast, especially if you have the open-mindedness and the growth mindset to kind of, okay, this is what I did wrong on this trade. I got in too early. I wasn't being patient enough. And that's kind of what led me to, now my style is more swing trading and positional trading and understanding more of like a macro outlook of what's going on in certain sectors. I match all of these things up. So like right now in crypto, I understand what's going on in the industry. I understand the cycle we're in this market. I understand the chart analysis aspect to it. So being in markets, there's different cycles. There's bull markets, there's bear markets, there's consolidation markets. Understanding where you are and the emotions of like the average person on that chart can help you position yourself to put on winning trades that will significantly outperform like most hedge funds and most like banks. Like going to a bank and getting 5% on a GIC is actually really possible if you can kind of put together all these different aspects of trading or investing. And essentially that's what's brought me here. So few years, that's all of that originated probably 2017. We're in 2024 now. And yeah, I've been investing since then. Like even though in the beginning I had no money, I still consider investing all the time of putting in work to understand all this, a big part of that.
Yeah, you've put in all of the years, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you think most people get wrong about investing?
What do most people get wrong? I think most people, what they get wrong is they think they take a fundamental approach, right? Fundamentals work, right? You have to understand, okay, is this company profitable? What is this company doing that, kind of makes them stand out in this specific industry? What are their revenues? What are their liabilities? All these different things, they matter. But where people get it wrong is they have no understanding really of like what cycle they're actually in a market. So easy example, mid 2021 to late 2022, it's a bear market. You could throw a dart, pick any stock, most of them are downtrending. So for somebody who doesn't really have an understanding of, okay, what trend is happening right now, they might buy this stock and just say, oh, well, I'm losing money. Like, oh, the stock, like I happen to just buy now, the market's against me, so I'm losing, right? So the markets are against me type of outlook, where if you kind of take yourself out of it and you try to look at, okay, what's happening from an objective perspective, it helps you position yourself to be successful. So my main thing for me is understanding the trend. Like, that matters more to me than if the company is profitable, if the company's revenues quarter after quarter are, if they're a successful company in that sense. because if a stock is uptrending, that's when you're going to make money longing, right? The only time you're really going to make money in a bear market is if you're basically trading contrarian to the trend. So you're shorting
the stocks, doing options puts. And stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where people get it messed up. They don't really take the time to learn the trends because they maybe think it's like a hooky-dory fake type of thing.
So where can they go to kind of learn this stuff at a basic level? Because there's so much information out there, right? There's so many people talking about it, a lot of conflicting ideas. So what would you recommend someone start off with?
Okay, so right away, I would learn the basics of candlestick charts. Just understand, because the beauty about technical analysis, it transfers to no matter what market. You could use it on an ETF, you could use it on a mutual fund, you could use it on a specific stock, crypto,
all that.
You could use it across the board, Forex, anything. So understand candlestick charts. You could simply go on YouTube and type in how to read candlestick charts. There's a few guys out there who do a phenomenal job of explaining the very basics. And through understanding the candlestick charts, it'll help you turn into, certain candlestick patterns, how to read the trend, right? Higher highs and higher lows create an uptrend. Lower highs and lower lows create a downtrend. You can start to piece together these things, how to use moving averages, right? So stocks that, like, this is a easy gem, but stocks that are on the weekly time frame that happen to be above the 50-day moving average, those are the stocks that tend to go up. So if your stock is above the 50-day moving average, it's a good indicator to use to tell, okay, this stock's uptrending. This is something I want to look into, right? You don't want to invest in a stock that's downtrending. But I'd say start there. If you're trying to get into this and you want to learn where to go, that's probably the best place to do it. My DMs are always open too. I'm fully, because I've been through it from the start. Like, I know what it's like to try to learn the charts and all that. So I'm really open about,
you've been very helpful, and there's a lot of information that you've put out online for the last couple of years as well, right, on YouTube. So we'll definitely be putting that in the video and description, right, so people will reach out.
Awesome.
You spoke a bit about the psychology around trading, right, and investing. Now, I personally, back when I first kind of got into the markets, which was like late 2020, there was a lot of hype around crypto, miners, meme coins, and I had gotten into Dogecoin, right? I got in at about maybe 20 cents or something around there, and I just wanted it to hit $1, right? I seen it go up like pretty much like almost 300%, right? But I was like, nah, until it hits $1, I am not selling, and I had this number in mind of like the return that I was gonna get, and so I got greedy, and then it downtraded and it crashed. I ended up taking it out without losing anything, but I also didn't gain anything at that time. So what do you find, like, in terms of most people's psychology around trading, investing? Because more times what I've found is in people is like they'll go into the market, experience it for a little bit, do bad because they're just winging it, or they're just trying to catch like a bull run trend. And then when they have like a bad experience, they just like leave it completely. Oh, this is a scam. This is like, this isn't proper or for me. And then they kind of like turn everybody else off about it. So talk a little bit more about like the psychology behind trading, because we're very emotional, right? And it takes more logic, right? And more stoicism to kind of actually make it in the market.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So first and foremost, like, this is what, and Rick DaCosta, shout out to Rick DaCosta as well, because he really opened my eyes to this aspect of understanding the markets. You have to be a contrarian thinker, okay? So like the average person who doesn't understand the markets, they are the types of people who are the most emotionally reactive, right? So quick example, we could throw Bitcoin out there, right? This is probably, Bitcoin probably reacts the most to emotions in the market, I feel like, especially if you look at like the technical analysis on it. You could literally pinpoint the euphoria and the fear perfectly on the chart. And essentially, there's obviously the classic saying, buy when others are fearful,
yes,
and then sell when others are euphoric. It sounds like it's really easy, but the best way to understand this and physically, or not physically, like visually be able to, point it out on a chart is actually having skin in the game. So, dude, start off, right? $500, $300. It doesn't have to be a lot. I remember starting, I'll never forget the first trade I put on. And that is what truly helped me understand. Because you never know. You could open a paper trading account and you're like, oh, look, I made a trade. Oh, I lost a little bit. But you'll never know. You don't have real skin in the game. But once you have real skin in the game, you'll understand. Like, oh, shoot, I seen this go down 5% or seen this go down 10, 20, 30%. How does that make you feel, right? This feeling you get, especially when you're first starting, that's what everyone else is feeling, right? So understanding where you are in the trend and how that affects you emotionally can prepare you, like, from a psychological perspective. As you do this more often, you're going to be able to pinpoint very easily, okay, right now is the time when I should be buying. For example, late or January 2023, you've seen, the 21 highs. We'll go back to 2021, the 21 highs of the Bitcoin bull market. Everybody is talking about it. From people coming out of the woodworks asking me questions about, oh, what about Bitcoin? What about Galaxy? What about DeFi? What about all these different miners? People coming out of the woodwork asking me about crypto. This is the perfect sign where it's like, okay, it's too mainstream right now. I have to be a contrarian thinker. I need to take some money off of the table. And then what happened eventually was we had this almost 2 year, 1.5 year bear market. You'll notice all the attention withers away, all of it. So now it's January 2023. Nobody's talking about Bitcoin.
Crickets.
People ask me questions. Oh, so how's your Bitcoin going? Right? After they seen, okay, Bitcoin's gone down 70% from its highs, people come out of the woodworks, but not in a way that they want to get into the markets. They're more like, hey, how's it going? Right? Kind of like to get that laugh at you, like, oh, look, you invested in a scam type of thing. That is when you want to go all the way. If you can afford to go all in and you understand the psychology behind it and you understand the fundamentals behind whatever asset you want to be looking into, those moments. So you could use average people who don't really know much about markets to gauge kind of an emotional aspect of what's to go on, what to expect in terms of emotions. Where are we in the chart, right?
It's so much easier said than done, though,
100%.
because it's like, I'm just speaking like as a layman as well, right? When it comes to this space, I traditionally just invest and hold, right? And just being, when you enter something and it's a good time, but you still see it, you still go down more, and you understand like kind of like the logical stuff behind it. But even after going through it, you still can feel all of that and then make an emotional decision. Yeah. Right. So. Yeah. I really believe that you have to go through it. I don't think like anybody can just learn the educational steps of it, right? You said like skin in the game is so important, right?
It's huge. It's huge. Throughout the years, I've made mistakes, and those mistakes, I make note of all of them. Like, there's not one mistake I've made that I don't remember. I remember all of them, and I actually what I tend to do is, I'll write it down. I'll make a note in Evernote or something, and I'll pinpoint where I made that mistake on the chart, right? And then I just track back. Hey, what was I feeling in this moment, right? Why did I make that decision? Like, was it like triggering? Like, was it like a P&L type of thing where I seen a P&L I didn't like, and then it triggered my emotions. All right, I'm out. Did I, or and the same thing for winning trades too. Like, what did you get right? Right? Did you find a pair in the market where, right, Bitcoin goes up, and then there's certain stocks that react to Bitcoin. Like, what were you feeling? Where was it on the chart? What pattern did you notice? What trend was it in? Was it after a downtrend? Was it an uptrending stock? I'm constantly asking myself a multitude of questions. And again, also looking at charts every day for the past almost 10 years now.
It takes a lot of introspection and work. And I think what most people think of when it comes to trading is that it's going to be easy. And so it's just like, oh, I just put money in and more money's supposed to come out, right?
Yeah.
And I know that was my psychology when I first got into it. And then you make like one or two good ones in a bull market where everyone's making money, and then you think like, oh, you feel good, but that sets up the wrong habits, right? Yes. Around it. It 100%. Sets up the wrong type of mentality around it. And then when it goes sour or it doesn't go your way, without doing that type of work and introspection, it really strips away, right, the confidence that you can have. But it requires work. It requires like journaling these 100%. Things out. It requires research. Like, the work is done in the research, man. So I like everything that you're saying right now, and I know the people are getting like so much value out of this, especially if they're new to the whole space, right? So you opened up a little bit about Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. For the people that kind of just heard of Bitcoin, they haven't done any research, what can you say about Bitcoin, like in a basic, easy way for people to understand?
Yeah. I think the easiest way to understand Bitcoin is to understand that it's a savings technology, right? It fights inflation, right? So it's a saving technology that you could use to fight inflation, right? And it's the first and only finite asset that you'll ever find out there. So there's a lot deeper you can go to into Bitcoin, but in easy terms, Bitcoin is a finite asset that you could use as savings technology to fight inflation, right? So the biggest problem in like today's age, and we're starting to see it a lot in Canada too, is how does inflation affect you, right? And again, it affects people in different ways, right? So if you're living at home, you don't have to pay for food, your parents are kind of supporting you type of thing, inflation will hit you differently. For example, like what you're paying for, maybe it's movie tickets to go out, or maybe going out to restaurants with your friends, or apps, right? Buying apps, the price of apps can go up. The level of inflation for somebody who lives that lifestyle is different for somebody who's maybe has a mortgage, right? Wants to buy a house, is paying for their own food bills. So something that I think of a lot is simply going back to 2021, and I'd buy slabs of beef. Like, the slabs of beef were pretty much 50% cheaper in 2021 than they are now. And that alone itself, that difference in what you're paying, it's called inflation. But the reason why that's happening is because of how much money they're printing, and they're basically devaluing the dollar, right? And that's what Bitcoin is helping you do. Over a longer period of time, you can use your hardworking dollars to put into Bitcoin as savings technology to fight the inevitable devaluation of the hard money that you're working for, right?
So you said like these slabs of meat, right? So they're 50% more now.
They're double. Right? They're double.
Yeah,
they were 50% cheaper. In 2021.
Yeah.
So they've doubled.
So that's 100% increase on the price of meat, because the statistics that you'll get in North America and around the world will be like, oh, inflation isn't so bad. It's only 2-3%. But they're really just counting a basket of goods from like a grocery store, but like gas is up, like vehicles prices are up, housing market.
Exactly.
So like it's not just the 2, 3, 4%, right? And like you said, it's more so like families or people that are responsible for something that are going to feel it, or people that want to buy some assets, right, that are going to be feeling the true cost of inflation.
Exactly.
Right now. So let's peel the layer a little bit more, right, on Bitcoin, right? Savings technology, amazing. What's like the history of it? If you can give us like a quick rundown on maybe the history as you know it, and then how you kind of got attracted to it.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is not just something that started like after the 2008, housing market crash, right? It's actually people have been trying to make something like Bitcoin for years. Like from the 90s, people have been trying to make a digital currency. And essentially the problem that they were having was this double spending problem where, say online, I try to send somebody $500, right? I send it to them, but it won't like record on the ledger in my account that I sent it to them. So that same $500 could be used to also double spend and send to somebody else. You see what I'm saying? So that was the issue. Bitcoin was the first technology that was created where you could kind of send something to somebody and it creates a ledger saying, all right, this person's received my Bitcoin and it's basically gone from my account. So I cannot double spend this X amount of money. Right?
So in simple terms, like authentic transactions.
Yes, pretty much. It's like one of the very first pieces of the technology created that authenticates a transaction on a blockchain or online, right? From there, what kind of attracted me to it, because again, I didn't get attracted to Bitcoin until it was around 2018 when I heard of it. My buddy Eric told me about it. I had a little Discord where we would talk about trading, talk about stocks, and one day we were on a little Discord call, and he said, "Yo, you should look into Bitcoin. There's some stocks also related to Bitcoin." And then so I started asking questions like, why would I be drawn to Bitcoin? Why should I look into this? Because I've heard of it, but never really truly understand it. And right away, what clicked for me the most was understanding that there's only 21 million that could ever be created. And that kind of broke my mind a little bit, because I understand supply, I understand demand.
Yeah.
When you look at stocks, like really any stock out there, like for example, Tesla, like Elon can issue out an X amount of more shares at any time, right? There could be, he can go and sell a bunch of his shares, which will create an overflood of supply, which would probably decrease the stock's price. There could be a stock split where the stock's price will decrease, but the amount of shares outstanding to the public will increase, right? So these things happen in the market at all times, right? Again, your dollar is being devalued every day because they print more of it. So once I learned, okay, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, you can't print anymore. From there, I started, that's what immediately, as soon as I understood that, I understand, oh my God, there's a fixed amount of supply on this thing and it could never change. I'm like, are you sure it can never change? And that's when I started asking the questions, okay, like why can it never change? So then you start to get into the mining aspect of it. And essentially, again, there's a lot better people who could explain it, but in simple terms, the miners, what they're doing is they're solving mathematical equations on the blockchain, and each equation that they solve gives them the key to a block of Bitcoin. And that block,
Okay, bro. So we talked about Bitcoin a bit. What are some other like alternative assets? Maybe it's in the crypto space or otherwise, that are some good looks for people to do, research on and possibly invest in.
Yeah. So nothing I say is like financial advice.
Absolutely.
I just want to make that clear. But a lot of the companies I do look at are related to the crypto space, and how they make an impact in the crypto space. So I look at, for example, Galaxy Digital Holdings is one of the main companies that I invest in. And why I invest in them is because they're almost like a BlackRock of crypto. Like they're a big centerpiece in the space, and how they're trying to impact the space and how they are impacting the space is in mining. They have a venture capitalist aspect of their company, an asset management division. They have a trading desk. They do a lot of staking, and they combine all these resources to create revenue. So I highly recommend looking into them and doing more research. If you go on Twitter or X, it's formerly known as Twitter, and you just type $GLXY, there is many people, and we've created like a small community actually on X of a bunch of people who just talk about Galaxy, and they post information about the company, and from technical analysis to fundamental analysis to interviews of interviewing the CEO, all these different things. You can get a solid amount of research about this company just from going on X. So that it's the most underutilized tool you can use is Twitter. Another company I have looked into is DeFi Technologies, and essentially what they're doing is similar to Galaxy, but on a lower scale. They're more of like a micro cap stock. But what they do is kind of perfect for this cycle's theme in the crypto space. So a big theme right now in crypto is the ETFs, right? So the Bitcoin ETF just got launched. That is a monumental, like a stone that we've stepped across in the crypto space, is having these Bitcoin ETFs approved. Now we have the ETH ETFs that just got approved. And what DeFi Technologies does is they create ETFs, or exchange traded protocols, ETPs. They create these products in Europe for different cryptocurrencies. So, for example, you wanted to invest in Solana, but you don't want to open a wallet. You don't want to open some exchange and transfer your money to this exchange and go through all the nooks and crannies of the crypto space. You can simply open up your brokerage account and buy a Solana ETF through one of their products, right? You could do this for their ETH ETFs. You could do this for their Bitcoin ETFs, their Bitcoin short ETFs, their leveraged Bitcoin ETFs. They just released a Bitcoin yield ETF. There's other cryptocurrencies as well that they have that are essentially wrapped into these products, making it more accessible to the average person who doesn't want to go through the more risk-averse way of getting into the crypto space. They also have a trading desk as well. So they themselves will make trades in the market and they've made, like, I think it's something crazy, like 60 million in 2 months just from generating revenue from a trading desk, right? So it's very interesting what this company is doing and how they're kind of tying into the theme of the ETFs in this cycle. So
you've also interviewed one of their executives.
That's correct.
How was that experience?
That was, I feel really lucky because, again, it happened on X. Like, simply, so I've been making videos, technical analysis breakdowns of different companies for years now. I have over 700 videos on YouTube, and I've made many different videos about DeFi. They're one of the biggest trades I've ever made from last cycle. So I've already known the company, so I've seen a very interesting trading pattern, right? Where it's almost like I've seen a relation to how Solana is trading, and then DeFi is lagging Solana. So, and it's tat for tat. The same chart pattern, almost timing-wise, is very similar as well. Percent gain is very similar. So there's a pattern going on in the markets where DeFi technology stock is lagging Solana. So what I did was I just posted a video about them. One of their like team members reached out to me, and I said, "Hey, you want to talk about this on Twitter Spaces, they set it up. So I thought it was super interesting that all I had to do was ask a question, and they were game for it. So I set up the interview. It was a good experience. It kind of broke my, it got me into like kind of going into the interviewer mindset. What do I want to learn from this guy that's going to give me an advantage when it comes to understanding this company and what they're going to do in this space? It was such a cool opportunity, and it kind of set me up to, all right, if I'm going to do this again, how would I do it? What can I learn from what I had done with Russell Starr? And that interview is on X, and it's under my like highlighted post. If you scroll down, you'll find it there. It was on like March 26th or something. But it's crazy to think like we did that interview. The chart pattern along with it was set up. You tie it to where is Bitcoin in the crypto space. All these things tie together, and the stock went from like 64 cents to $3 in like 8 weeks after that. So it was crazy to see, like, holy, I was able to catch on to this early enough, get the interview somehow, some way, and kind of give, because a lot of the times you're not going to get that opportunity to just talk to a former CEO of a company and have them break down, you know, how this company makes money, his macro outlook on the space. Getting all these different points of view from him was really eye-opening experience.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I highly recommend everybody to check it out because it was very insightful. And I know a lot of people are up on that stock just because you had introduced them to it. But everyone do your own research and make your own decisions when it comes to that. So DeFi, though, also stands for decentralized finance.
Correct.
Where do you see the future of that space?
So from a macro outlook, I think, again, I could be wrong, but like what I do think is eventually over time, the next maybe 5, 10, 20 years, I think people are going to realize that using a bank GIC just doesn't make sense. So I think people are going to start to realize, inflation is affecting how much I'm saving more than a GIC is rewarding me. So when people start to realize, okay, I'm being affected by inflation at a rate of like 10 to 15%. And so technically my savings are decreasing at a 10 to 15% rate year over year, just keeping it in that account. But if I keep it in a GIC, they're offering me maybe 5, 6, maybe 7. I don't think I've ever seen a 7%.
No.
But mostly I see is like a 5%. So they're offering me 5% guaranteed yield on my investment, right? If you do the math out, you're still negative. Inflation is so strong, especially if you're a homeowner, you have a family to support, things pop up, your car, like you're saying, right? Once people realize I need to put my money into a more finite, harder asset, that's where decentralized finance is going to come in. And I think people are going to start to utilize Ethereum, utilize Bitcoin, utilize Solana to not only fight inflation from the fact that, okay, this is just a harder asset. Like this, for example, whether it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, is not decreasing in it or increasing in its supply year over year. This is actually decreasing year over year. So it is anti-inflationary. And then on top of it, you could stake these assets in order to get yield off of them. Again, I'd have to go into further research to break down like the complexity of that. But I think instead of using GICs, people are going to start staking or getting yield on their hard-earned money through crypto. And I think that's where decentralized finance is really going to start to bloom in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Just people getting more open-minded to the fact that, hey, they're being really corrupt with the dollar. And how can I fight that? And I think that's where decentralized finance comes in as like an answer.
Amazing. So wrapping up here, last question. What's like a message you want to leave people with? What's a message you want to leave to the world?
A message I want to leave to the world. I'd have to say, believing in yourself is kind of the cornerstone of everything you want to be. Mm-hmm. Because when I was 17 and I was down in the gutter and in a not so great space, but I have this like feeling inside of me that like, I could do bigger things, right? I could be a better version of myself than I am right now. And it all starts with believing that that's true. So that, I think that is more powerful than absolutely anything. And if you have the balls and you have the courage to, act on that small little feeling, just step by step and never giving up, that I think that you could do anything you put your mind to. And like, it's crazy how life works, where you have small little goals, but seeing them, manifest into reality can really snowball a level of confidence that you didn't know you had, right? Despite what people you work with say or old friends have to say, that inner voice you have about the beliefs that you can do in the world are stronger than anything. Like, I think that's what I would leave them with.
Beautiful, bro. It was an honor.
My
Thank
boy.
you so much.
Thank you.
Right? Have a good one. Let's go.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.